This is Sami Gardner with the Career Kickstart Show. Today's episode, I am going to just hit you with a little bit of cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, I guess the thesis of this episode could be seen as a little dark, because one of the things that I encounter with a lot of clients is that sometimes they get scared of their ambition. You know, they're worried about what success could bring, what it could change, what if they fail, God forbid. Now, the question that I'm going to pose to you can seem dark, but I don't mean it that way. I want it to be something that can liberate you once you think about this thought experiment. Because a lot of times we get so far in our own head analyzing what could be, we don't focus on what is or what's actually realistic. You know, that's the thing. Failure happens. You can plan for it. You can make exit strategies, worst case scenarios. It's not a big deal. However, a lot of thought in personal development, law of attraction, mindset, whatever flavor of personal development that you follow, there is this weird resistance to looking reality in the face, raw dogging reality, if you will. And I don't believe that that is helpful. I feel like that is something where you can check out what could happen. You know, you can face your fear of failure because that's how you develop grit. That's how you develop resilience. So let's kind of go to it. What is the question that I'm going to pose for you to really think about, even journal about? And that question is, what is the worst that could happen? What is the worst that could happen? There's a technique in cognitive behavioral therapy where you realistically analyze what could be the worst outcome of a decision or situation. You simply ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? This is a key tactic to practice because so often as humans, we can catastrophize a situation or a decision or a result. And I'm not even talking about life and death quandaries like Churchill smoking a cigar, agonizing over World War II strategies. This can happen over the most mundane events, such as not hearing back from a date. Oh my God, she hates me. To starting a business. Oh my God, it's going to fail. I'll have to live in a van by the river. I mean, this can happen to the best and brightest of us. I know that I do it. We all catastrophize as if we're in Pompeii watching the ash fall, even if the reality is just that we need to harden up and negotiate a raise with their boss. You know, I see so many people who spend their lives catastrophizing and end up stuck in situations that are honestly worse than if they took action. If you are miserable in your job, it's not the end of the world to start to look for another. If you want to be in your field, it's not the end of the world to change careers. If you want to become an entrepreneur, it's not the end of the world to tell your spouse. Sit and think about what actually and realistically is the worst that could happen. Confront the primal part of your brain, still on the lookout for saber-toothed cats. Just because you feel fear, that doesn't mean that it's real. Sometimes fear is just crap rattling around in our head. So be logical and understand that most of our fears swirl around the idea of failure. Failure isn't your foe. Failure is a byproduct of actually living your life. If you never fail, then that is a sign that you never tried. Failure isn't the end. Most of my listeners are educated people in the Western world with a lot going on for them. So I can safely assume that you have the ability to pick yourself up. And the thing is that you have probably more assets and resources, talent, determination, charisma, drive to make some real impact in this world. It's a matter of getting over your fear so you can unleash that gift that only you can give the world. I know for myself, when I decided that I wanted to go into business, I made a list of what would happen if I failed. I would have to give up my own place and live with a relative like my sister. I could have a business debt. I'd feel humiliated since I made a big deal about being self employed. I'd have to go back to working for somebody else. The list went on and even had some unrealistic scenarios. But I created a second list for each fear that centered around how bad each one really was. And even if some of those had a silver lining. For example, if my business did fail and I had to live with my sister, then I would have a lot of time with my nieces and my nephews. My sister was honestly pretty cool with it. Because, and she even told me this, she'd like, oh my gosh, I'd have a live-in babysitter. So yeah, go for it. And like, it's not like, she was like, fail, 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 so I can get an au pair. But, she was pretty chill with it because a stay-at-home mom with, 3 kids under the age of 10, I knew that she wanted some help. And no, I'm just going to say this. I realize that it's a blessing to have such a close family. I earnestly do and enjoy those lovely freaks that I call my family. So so having to live with them isn't as much of a hardship as it might be for someone who doesn't have that cool of a family. So I realize that. Much like you, I also have a number of privileges that are working for me. And that's the thing. Most of us do have some things in our corner where we'll still have, even if we fail at something. So back to my list. After I did my rebuttals and notes on each catastrophe, I wrote out a few bullet points on how I could prevent it. I decided to not take out a loan for my business and do as much bootstrapping as I could. And confession, a few of my worries were just my pride talking. That was just ego. And it's not a humiliation to go for your dreams, even if you failed. It's a sign of courage. And it's a way to push off any regrets. It's better to go for something, maybe fail it, than always have that what if hanging over your head. And the thing is that being self-employed has been a way for me to learn so many amazing skills around marketing, management, technology, that I can definitely find a new job with these skills without a problem. So you always want to look for that silver lining. You want to list out what's the worst that could happen. Be honest, feel realistic with yourself. Don't be needlessly melodramatic. I mean, my list was a little melodramatic, but be realistic with yourself. Think about, what is a silver lining with each of them, a rebuttal, if you will, and then write out how you can prevent it. Like most of our fears of failure, they either have to do with pride or it's because maybe we haven't planned or prepared in a certain way. Make some contingencies. You're going to be fine. The worst that could happen for you could be a lot of things that might not be that bad. However, I understand. Sometimes when you write out your list of what's the worst that could happen, you could hit on something that you really can't tolerate. That's how I felt about a business loan. So I did some adjustments in my plan to avoid it. Then this is the most important step. I had to make peace with the fact that I could fail. If you move boldly, you're bound to stumble. Not every issue can be avoided. The world's chaotic, shit happens, society is unequal, life isn't fair, etc., etc. I can't tell you what your experience will be. It might not be like mine. Your path is your creative path. If you have kids or other responsibilities or limitations like societal marginalizations or financial constraints or what have you, then you have to be creative with finding a path to your dreams. I know that for me, it was not a straight shot. However, keep in mind that if you look, the point of this exercise is not to dwell on, oh man, it's so hard to overcome. Terrible things can happen. I have so much against me. It's more like, okay, let me be realistic. Let's face the boogeyman under the bed, get it over with, and then think about what I can do about it. But I will warn you, when you are looking for reasons that you're going to fail, you're going to find them. If you were, it's kind of something that I've noticed when I've seen people, do inquiries about training programs or mastermind groups and stuff like that. They want to find out all this information, and they usually will go not for the people who succeeded, but the people who failed. And they want to know, why did you fail? What's going on? And even if they kind of talk to the people who succeeded, they're really focused on the idea of failure because that is what they're putting their focus on. They want someone to give them the validation that they can't do it. And that's dangerous because the world will tell you that you suck. With the internet's a glorious thing, but it's essentially will retrieve whatever you want it to retrieve. And most of the time, a lot of people, before they get their mindset on point, before they write the permission slip to dream, they oftentimes want to retrieve the negative. And I know this whole episode is about facing your fear and what's the worst that can happen. But the thing about fear is that you can face it, you can thank it for protecting you, and then you can move on. Because failure, that doesn't mean that you can't live your life to its fullest potential. Like I know that with some of the business groups that I've been in, some of the digital nomad groups I've been in, the nonprofit circles that I've been in, I have seen people who on the surface, society told them to go jump in a creek, but they are thriving. They're doing well. I've seen single moms, fleeing an abused relationship, take their 3 kids and start a whole new life in Mexico. I have seen, transgender sex workers, become nonprofit, social work goddesses, shepherding, a new generation. I have seen, people of color with first generation, college students go and kick butt in tech. Like the thing is that for every example of why you can fail, there's an example of how you can succeed. So just because life throws us barriers to our dreams, that doesn't mean we need to become a barrier ourselves. Once you name your fear, you face it, you can build a strategy to overcome or go around it. Whenever you feel paralyzed by fear, even as your heart and your spirit are yearning to achieve a great dream, greet that fear, thank it for protecting you, and use logic to diffuse it. What is the worst that could happen if you dug deep into your career, business, lifestyle, creative dreams, whatever they may be, and tried to achieve them? You'll probably find that the worst isn't as bad as the regret that you'll feel for not giving your dream a go. Remember, you shouldn't be miserable 40 hours a week. And when you kickstart your career, you can kickstart your life. So think about your fears around your dreams and your ambitions. Face them, thank them, let them go. Because, honey, you can do it. Thank you all for listening to the Career Kickstart Show. As always, I'm Sami Gardner, your career specialist. Bye. Change your career, change your life at CareerKickstartAcademy.com.